enterprises and help them, sorry, and help them get very confident in being able to tackle issues relating to AI. And so that playbook for us really allowed us to be able to have a philosophy and to have an approach in terms of the cadence of experimentation that allowed us to be able to get a lot closer to the value. So for me, I think the three things that we started were with asking, from a client point of view, what are the top irritations that we see with our clients? And then from defining that, we orientated projects to be able to solve for those irritations. The challenge sometimes with AI is that you end up wheel spinning in the same place because you aren't really directed in the focus that you have on client problems. And what we did very early on is we said if we're going to experiment, we have to orientate ourselves around the things that clients are saying that really, really frustrate them. In the world of creativity, as you know, the challenge is always around costs, it's always around speed, and it's always around quality, right? And so those three cornerstones helped us to try and reverse engineer what we should be solving for as an agency to be able to address those three things. And in so doing, we defined the experiments that impacted cost, speed, and quality. And with cost, speed, and quality, there was very clear areas of the business that would be implemented or impacted. So when we looked at those three things from a client point of view, and we looked at what the AGMI model says, which ultimately moves AI from just being about tools to being a strategic partnership, four things really emerged for us. The first one is strategic intelligence became core to being able to solve for speed, quality, and cost. So AI, you can implement it in a first base way and just kind of generate data and create one-sided outputs. But what we started to do is design multiple scenarios that helped us to get better at briefing and get better at understanding requirements from clients. So that really helped us to drive a greater degree of success in terms of strategic intelligence. The second model was then around creative intelligence, right? So how do we move beyond just AI generated content at the tail end of the process to enhance the creative thinking that starts from the beginning? So then the tool becomes more a collaborator than simply just a function of giving you an output. So that human in the loop became very important to our approach. And then the third thing was around operational excellence. I think a lot of people start here from workflowing and being able to use resource optimization strategies to use less people and more AI. But what we did is that we tried to couple that time saving with reinvesting it into strategy and thinking process. And then the fourth thing that we did was we started building out a project around predictive intelligence, which one would argue is the holy grail, right? So understanding what you will be able to achieve even before you've run a campaign using historical data and the power of human insight to be able to model and predict outcomes from a campaign point of view. So those are really the four pillars that we orientated around client-centric problem, which is around speed, cost, and quality. And we've had quite a lot of success in being able to follow that approach.
All right, amazing. So you've painted a picture for us on how, so practically when a client comes to you and says your first point of knowledge is what challenges they're experiencing. So your main pillars are cost. Of course, cost is everything. The client doesn't want to feel like they're not overspending for the tool that they will be, using. And also in terms of quality, speed, and so cost, speed, and quality. From your experience, how long does it take to develop such a tool, such an intelligence?
So, I mean, so we started out with developing a design thinking approach. So before we developed a tool that helped us, we created an approach that we tested in multiple scenarios. So our initial experimentation gave us some learning, some context, and some understanding. We took that learning and we framed out a design thinking philosophy and an approach that we used. We then created specific environments where we could run tests with our teams to use that thinking approach to be able to solve for briefs, right? And as we solved for those briefs, we refined how that model could help us inform the product. So those three very clear steps, because we thought that it would be the wrong thing to jump to trying to build a product without having tested it and being able to kick the tires within a robust framework. And so when we then ventured down the road of building a product, which for us is is Forge by Brave, which is our key proprietary technology. It was informed by design thinking and it was informed by real client experience. So those three steps really allowed us to know what we were solving for and stay true to it. Because the big risk, as you'll know, with so much AI happening and so many changes, is every single day you'll feel like you need to be pivoting and doing different things, but you need to remain grounded, and that grounding will come from the approach of being able to understand the key drivers and levers of value for your client.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I think I'll pass it on to Tembe. Please share your experience and your thoughts on this.
Okay. Thanks, Nora, and thanks, Musa, as well for that insight. Like, I'm also learning here. So that was quite insightful. So I think before I get into the most recent project that we're working on, I'll probably just get into a little bit about Softlytic. So, based on my background for like about 8, 9 years, where I've been a customer success manager for tech companies in the past before, founding my own, starting my own companies and becoming a CEO. So I've always been a customer-centric person in a sense where, like customer experience has always been a thing for me. So hence I started Softlytic, which was sort of a consulting company to help other startups, around globally. Really, we worked with various companies, Africa and Europe. It was basically assisting companies who couldn't, like smaller companies who didn't have customer success functions, build up their customer success. So that's setting them up on CRMs, setting up KPIs, and just monitoring how they're doing, like onboarding programs and so on. Yeah, so while we worked with different industries, we found ourselves starting to work with the healthcare space quite a lot. Hence, we basically built, like products, AI products for within the healthcare space, which eventually became Perkily, right? Like where it's just mostly specific on healthcare. Yeah, so we became more of like I said, we worked with or still work with various industries as an agency. But our niche where we found ourselves like, yeah, becoming like experts in is within the healthcare space. So with that being said, with the question, one of the most recent products we've built was an enhancement of patient management systems. So pretty much what doctors, clinics, okay, maybe hospitals use something a little bit more complex, but mostly clinics, like your medical practitioners, medical centers, currently use patient management systems, which are at currently a whole lot of them are like well, as Softlytic internally, we call them legacy systems, right? Poor UI and so on. These are systems that have been there, that have been around for years, maybe over 2 decades. And then what we really found in the healthcare space is that these can actually be still improved, like to make life better, right? So within comparing healthcare to other industries are very quick to adapt with technologies. But what we found, at least within South Africa, is that a lot of these legacy systems are still like a bit, outdated, and some of the tasks that you do, they are like repetitive and so on, and this is not very much efficient. So what we were trying to do with AI is to, what can I say? It was to connect doctors with their patients. So at this moment, what happens is, a doctor will have the PMS, the patient management system, but that's just that, right? Like it's just for them. It's for them to have patient files, monitor and manage like appointment bookings. But the patients didn't really feel connected to their doctors, right? So what we did then is take existing patient management systems and use built-in AI, where it makes medical practices and clinics more efficient, where like it's currently it's 70%, I'd say 70% AI driven. So patients are able to have their own interface, which with current systems, they don't have interfaces like portals for patients. They have their own interface where they can make a booking with the doctor. The AI literally currently with the system that we've built would give it sounds as very humane. Like if you get a call from the AI, you would think that you're speaking to a real person. It basically confirms your booking, whether you're still coming or not, whatsoever. And then so that the value there is lowering the no-show rates for the doctors. So yeah, so it confirms the booking until you get to the medical practice. You pretty much see the doctor. It analyzes, like your patient file, like your previous data, like when you visited the doctor. It basically helps the doctor with treatment plans, symptom diagnosis, preventative care, and so on. And then we also embedded a loyalty program in there. So I know with my country, there's healthcare is quite expensive. Like if you don't have medical insurance. So what we did is we were just trying to change the whole. So with loyalty programs, we know it works in retail, we know it works in hospitality. I have a friend who would have like low fuel tank, but they wouldn't fill up in the nearest garage because they want to go to a specific garage where they can gain their points and spend their points. So we pretty much built that as well for healthcare, where you are able to gain like points for, like you're able to gain points for seeing a doctor. And then once you've gained enough points, it's either you get, like an off on your next visit or some free medical checkups or whatever it is. So, like I said, it's quite a lot of it is AI driven. I could talk for days, but a lot of it is AI driven. We are now integrating it with patient wearables like your smartwatches, able to track your health and so on. And then, yeah, so the whole objective for patients is to encourage them to take care of their health. So they have an AI companion on their wrist, take care of their health. It's looking to like everything like even they workouts. They work out, mental health, everything. The AI is basically there as a companion. And then for doctors is to keep is to retain customers, right? To retain their patients. Their patients keeps coming back to them. They always have like these reminders, you know, it's time to go for your next checkup, especially for patients with chronic illness and so on. But I'll just pause it there for now because I could go on and on. But that's a recent project that we've implemented with it's a medical group, a small medical group here in SA.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Tembe. If I pass it on to Nyandia, you can also give us your experience and also let us know which AI tools and platforms that you've used before have been the most effective in your work.
Okay, so I think for us, it's very interesting because we have clients from diverse backgrounds. So it's real estate, education, finance, agriculture, just basically across the pan. So it's never a one size fits all, but we have to customize most of everything. But then we're implementing in regards to artificial intelligence for the brand. So from an agency point of view, we're very data focused. So data tells us where to go and where the brands have been. So in regards to predictive analytics, we use historical data to be able to tell us the next direction that we should take with a specific brand. And it normally helps us achieve the success that is perceived, although that is expected from the client. So just a few examples. With real estate, we use AI for the full funnel from awareness, consideration, conversion, post-purchase. The full funnel has various programs implemented, and then we've just figured out a way to make it seamless across. So in the office in itself, we run fully on Google AI Studio. It's important for the work that we do for the creators, for management, for directors. It's very key that all our work is monitored and is input in a funnel in which we can get the output that we deserve, right? And for research, it's very key for us as well to pull market insights, diaspora trends, buyer objections, and then very importantly as well for content, right? From blogs, SEO, newspapers, newsletters, ad copy scripts, sometimes down to the videos, to the images that we're using. And then we just refine it in-house. So we decide when there is an AI handover and when there is a human handover, because we do think at the heart of every creative is soul. And while AI has gotten so good to where it's able to almost imitate soul, we still want to always make sure, because I mean, we're Africa, Africa is our business, we are conversational, we like talking to people. So at some point, we then get to decide where there is a human handover and where the AI handover comes in. With security, because security is different, because we also have one of the biggest security firms. In that regard, then it's more so of a content engine, right? So product specs, case studies, these are turned into very sector specific types of content to help us now with onboarding, with showcasing what we can do in various things. So that's just to show that in various industries, the needs of every brand are different. And also there's that part where at what point is AI or the AI that we're implementing secure enough brand to brand? Like it's different for every brand, but for us, predictive analytics using historical data has been key, and being data focused is what has helped us drive this. So we use a span of tools at any given point. Um, I do think, and I do strongly believe, one of the strongest AI engines is Google powered, right? So the AI Studio, hundreds of AI tools under that we then utilize on a day to day, from Gemini to the Nanobanan, anything from creating our own assistants and automations. That is one of the most cool platforms that we find ourselves using. But again, it's very centric on us and the data that we use to feed it to give us the output.
That's a brilliant approach because at the end of the day, you need data to inform your next step. You need to create a product that will actually be used and not just sit in your, in your assets without it. Yeah. From your experience, how long does it take to, so how do you embed the AI into existing workflows so that you've explained in a form of you look at the tools that are there and then how to you use data to shape the tool that you'll build from what is there. And then I also like the fact that you've mentioned or you're considering also the human aspect. Again, we're in Africa and also we are at the beginning of AI adoption. So a lot of people are also still leaning back to there. I need to talk to someone. Even, when you call in Kenya, when you call Safaricom, you still want to go and talk to a customer, agent, but you feel like you've been helped. So as you embed all these AIs into your workflows, what's a realistic adoption roadmap for both mid-sized and small agencies?
So the funny thing is that most brands don't even particularly just ask for AI. Right now, I think because there's that whole curiosity around it. They're like, can we get AI? Can we do with AI? Can we do this? But at the root of all that request is that they need speed, they need consistency, they need sales, they need better storytelling. We pride ourselves more so on the storytelling part of it. So then how do we achieve that using artificial intelligence? For us, we break it into three parts, right? So tools, workflow, and integration. So we decide what we're going to use, right? So is it Gemini? Is it GPT? Is it Cloud? Is it Manus? Is it Perplexity? So different things need different things. So if it's a financial client, we'll lean more to Cloud, right? Because it's made with a lot of financial training models. If it's SEO or content based, we will lean more towards Manus and Perplexity because it's very good in that regard. When it comes to automations, do we use make.com, Zapier, Notion, or whatever? So we start on the basis of what the client needs, then build into the tools themselves. So we're like, okay, we have this myriad of AI tools that we need to start implementing. And then using these tools, we need to then create our own AI tools for this client. So the client doesn't have to interact with, say, 20 tools to get an output or to understand what we're doing. So we need to merge all this or some of this to creating now one AI super tool that can do multiple things. So then after that, then we decide the workflow that we're gonna be, going with. So we start with research. Then the research meshes into ideation and creation. Then we have the QC and delivery using templates that we have implemented and created within the organization. Then finally, we have the integration. So which teams will be involved? Who needs training for what? With these brands internally, with these client brands internally, do they also need training to be able to help us show them and in which they can understand what it is that we're doing? So we'll do the team trainings, start with small user cases, and then build internal SOPs on how this will be implemented. And then we centralize everything. We even centralize prompts that clients can access in regards to what they want to see. So we have a very specific structure that I like to follow. And anyone who is involved in the processes in the agency uses it. So it's tools, each client needs, then we go to tools, we go to workflow, and then we go to integration. And that has helped us now be seamless and also be open. Because sometimes I've also found there are agencies who are not very open in how or if they're actually implementing a lot of AI. And I think that is one of the key parts of what do you call it? Data integration when it comes to data security as well. It's important to always say that this is what we do and this is what we're using to achieve it. Then we just everything else streamlines because I think at this point everybody is expecting that there is an implementation of AI in any of the work that is being output for them.
True. And just before I pass it on to Musa to also share his experience in, the tools that they use and the workflow towards it, maybe a question would be from an agency point of view, do they need to have someone who actually knows, can go, say, for your experience, go to Google, AI Studio, know what to identify, and then build like all that? There needs to be someone who's actively learning or already knowledgeable from in the agency so that they can do this.
So what happens is you have two types of clients. There are clients who will hand over their entire brand for you to manage, right? For you to run, to grow, to scale, all these things. But then you have other clients who will want to be actively involved or who require you to work with other teams within the organization. So when a client is doing their full handover, they're like, we couldn't be bothered. As we want to run what we know. If it's finance, they're like, as we just want to stick to what we know well, you stick to this. So you will find a way to then mesh the two, right, and marry it. However, when it comes to other clients who prefer active participation and very intense and intentional participation, then we have to do those 8 AI trainings in regards to both internal staff on their part and also with the agency. But the agency, everybody right now is very actualized into how they implement specific tools. But with the clients, we're getting to a point where they do need to understand what it is that we're running and the tools that we're running. And the beautiful thing that we do also is that we give clients access to these tools. So we're creating something on our website, in our system where clients can then access the specific tools that we are implementing for their specific brand. So they can see what's happening end to end to some degree. And they can also play with the tools if they want, and they don't have to pay extra subscriptions. They just, as long as we are uptaking their brand, then they get access to all these tools that we have.
Okay, thank you for that, Nyandia. Over to you, Musa.
Yeah, I think those are great insights. And as far as the tools that we use, there's probably 4 buckets that we think about these AI tools. The first is reasoning tools. which I think most people would be very familiar with, the likes of a ChatGPT. We've experimented with Claude, with Perplexity, and these tools ultimately allow us to have the human-in-the-loop conversational dynamism of being able to reason through particular challenges. The second bucket for us are embedded tools. These embedded tools ultimately integrate into existing applications and workflows, and they can enhance kind of functionality by being able to be tweaked slightly. So when you think about Gemini, the deep research tool, which we use, Notebook LLM, Consensus AI, and some of the open AI deep research capabilities, which we use as well as our embedded tools. We also use search tools as a third bucket. From a search point of view, these are AI-powered tools that can intelligently retrieve, summarize, and also synthesize big data sets and large amounts of information. And they'd be integrated into our workflows, like an MS Copilot, which we use a lot, and Scribe, which are our core ones. I also know GitHub has also got a great Copilot, which you can use as well. And then the fourth bucket is really specialized tools, which are built for purpose, right? And these have specific tasks or domains of knowledge. Grammarly is one of those ones which I think everyone uses. We're in the advertising industry. Grammarly works very well. Jasper, Cursor, Replit, sorry. And recently we started using Skyworks as well as a tool that allows us to be able to pull together ideas and output them really beautifully presented to our clients. So in those four buckets, we use those tools at various different points in time. When we were building our own priority tool, which is Forge by Brave, we took the best in class of each one of those buckets, and then we solved for the workflow for the process of creation. So when you think about getting quality scored briefs, which is a feature on Forge, we were able to embed some of the reasoning tools to be able to give us quality scored briefs by ultimately deconstructing a brief and reassembling it as something that can be used properly. The second feature, which is really around strategy and strategic input, is around pretty much using embedded as well as specialized tools to be able to arrive at territories for us to interrogate. On the platform, we've also got a scoping feature, which pretty much takes into consideration deep embedded tools as well as rate card technology and specialized databases to be able to assemble what could be not only workflows or project plans as well. And then from a brainstorming and rapid ideation point of view, we obviously use the Google set of tools as well, and that leads us into production where we use the Nano Bananas of the world, etc. So we took all of those four buckets and we really looked at what can give us the best output at the different feature sets that we've built. And then against that, we've also got a set of algorithms that have got all our prompt information. Those algorithms we obviously review on a quarterly basis to ensure that the integrity based on the client is maintained and being able to keep up to standard with what the client-based prompt library looks like. And then we reinforce that with our internal testing process of our prompts and inform those four specific areas of AI intelligence. So that's really how we've approached it from our perspective.
Amazing. That's quite insightful in terms of how to think about the kind of AI you need. So there might be anyone, someone in the attendees who's wondering, like, where do I, how do I identify the AI I need? Of course, there's the ChatGPT that is one of the most popular, but it's not the only one. So I like the fact that you've broken
Yes.
it into four buckets. There's reasoning
Yes.
tools. So someone might think that because they're using ChatGPT, they have all that they can use. But then that's
Yeah.
just under the reasoning tool category. There's
Yeah.
embedded tools that you mentioned, search
Yeah.
tools and specialized tools. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, specification. And I think someone in the attendee has actually just figured out how to think about the tool and the AI they need. Tem-
100%.
yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. So I'm just gonna go back to the context of within our clients within healthcare. Yeah, so basically, most of our effective tools are those that handle unstructured data and predictive modeling in low resources settings. So I'll just get into just two. One would be mobile optimized predictive models. So these are lightweight models designed to run efficiently on basic mobile phones which is the primary interface for most patients and like field agents within Africa. What we consider the real power is in the integration layer that connects these models to existing health information systems and mobile communication platforms. So this basically ensures that AI's insights are actionable at the points of care or communication. Another category or group of tools that I would say that is, we pretty much work with is specialized LLMs. This is mostly because of the industry that we're in, which is in the healthcare. Well, one of the industries that we like really focus in, which is the healthcare space. So because of that, it's like a very healthcare is like very sensitive, right? Like we can't afford to be, giving out like incorrect information or outdated information and so on. So we are plugged in. We basically use like LLMs that are like very specialized within healthcare and connected to platforms which are like I would say, official healthcare platforms, like your platforms that belong to the WHO. I know Google as well has like LLMs around like the medical healthcare space specifically. We used to, we are trying to raise funds to building, or yeah, trying to raise funds to building an LLM of our own. Once we have like quite a bit of data and have trained our AI quite a lot, we can become an LLM, a tool ourselves, which other technology sort of providers can just use to can basically plug in. Yeah, so the reason with that is reason being is when I don't know if people on this webinar are aware that ChatGPT has ceased basically giving any healthcare info and legal info, right, information, because as I mentioned prior, is that it's a very sensitive sort of space, and you could like literally find people if people are not careful, or yeah, if they're not careful, they can literally gets like some sort of prescription from AI, and then without consulting with an actual real doctor, because at the end of the day, like you need to like verify the information. So even though like we trust so much in AI, so those in the creative space, in the marketing space, pretty sure they know like, oh, if you're creating content, right, you don't just take everything and then just put it out there. It still needs a bit of human interaction, just making sure that it's within the tone, the branding, and so on. Yeah, so we basically use quite a bit of specialized LLMs when it comes to the tools and platforms.
All right, thank you so much. I also want to just let everyone please share your comments in the chat. Before we move into the next section, I'll be looking at the comments. If you want to ask anything specific to any of the panelists, please do so now. Yeah, I think Tembe, I kind of relate to the fact that yeah, medical information is very critical. It's how people say, if you Google your symptoms, you'll find out you should have died last week, you know. So,
Or it'll tell
so
you that you probably have cancer or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's not to say that it's completely off, but it's not giving very specialized information. Yeah, so I think that's, yeah, of course, you're very specific to the healthcare industry. And
Mhm.
just the next question actually you can answer now is maybe we move on to the, pricing, because you've developed these tools by, within your company. How one do you communicate value to clients and also for them to understand the return on investment when using these AI tools? And also, how do you price these services?
Okay. Can you just repeat repeat the questions and then yeah.
Yeah, so
Uh,
how do you communicate value to the clients that you reach
mhm.
out to? And also, how do you, yeah, so within the value, they need to understand the return on investment. So, how do you communicate this to clients? And secondly, is how do you price these services so that, it's reasonable to the client side of the engagement?
Okay. So with basically how we communicate the value, it's through it's through demos. Like we do like normal lead generation. So with Softlytic, one of our services is also like lead generation and outreach and marketing campaigns. So we actually do that for for ourselves as well. And then pretty much scheduling like demos and then doing a demo. So while doing the demo, we take a different approach, right? We don't do a demo just to show you what the technology does, like saying, hey, this is a cool feature, this button does this or does that or whatsoever. How I've actually trained my team is that because like it's in the healthcare space, we learned that last year that they don't really, medical practitioners don't really care about the tech, right? They don't care. I mean, they have receptionists, whatever tech that they buy, they won't use. They'll pretty much let the receptionist be the one who uses it. They're the ones who use it in terms of like the appointment bookings, inventory management, and so on. So what I've actually discovered is that yeah, so doctors don't really care because in their heads is like, even though they don't say it explicitly, in their heads is whether or not this makes my things faster or whatsoever, I'm still paying someone to do it. So it's basically that. So with that realization, when we do our demos, we don't talk features and all the cool stuff that the AI can do. We basically talk value proposition and benefits, right? So if we are basically doing a demo on clinical notes, like AI powered clinical notes, we say, everything is faster. It's pretty much doing your treatment plans for you. You're able to do it's able to do like referrals if a patient needs to be referred to a hospital or to another doctor, a specialist, whatever it is. So I don't know how many of you have experienced this. I know I've experienced this. I have at least two of my team members on this call who's also experienced this, that when you go see a doctor, you sometimes find them just going on their phone and basically Googling, right? Like, and then you're like worried that I could have done that at home as well. So I've experienced this, and I'm starting to see it quite a lot because now I'm aware because we're in this space. Yeah, so we communicate the value proposition via demos. Unfortunately, because of the space that we in, it's very hard to get our clients. They always they are always like in consultations and they just if they can speak with you, sometimes you just come to the medical practice, you see a lot of patients in the waiting room, and you just know that that demo is not going to happen, that meeting is not going to happen. So yeah, we communicate the value proposition through that. And then our first early adopters, where we did a case study with them, like medical practices, towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we basically did that. Second question, sorry, what was the second question? The return on investment, how do we calculate? Was it?
Yes, so that was tied to the value because when you're
Okay.
communicating the value, it is tied to the ROI. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. So basically just wrapping up that first question, tying it to the second is ROI, it's through our, because the technology, the space for us is still pretty new. So it's through our case studies where we've done our case studies where we show the number of returning patients. So we actually built that into the client's platform as well to show that out of the clients that you have, this month, the following month, who are returning patients, who are new patients. So we've been able to track those metrics, basically to show. So I know our first case study, we had a 25% in retention, like patient retention, who actually came back after, being onboarded into a platform where they can easily book an appointment, where they can easily access their patient records, where they can, where they get like guidance as well on how to take care of themselves or whatsoever. Like I said, all AI driven. It's basically the AI taking care of all of that. So if you're a doctor, even if you are, okay, maybe not a one-man show because you still need a receptionist, but pretty much we've built it to be a productivity tool for medical practitioners. So not just doctors alone, even anything that is that is health and wellness. So like spas as well, basically use our products, aesthetics clinics and so on. So with the pricing, how we priced it was we use a SaaS model where it's you pay like a monthly subscription, so on. And then for the automations, if you are activating automations, that basically is according to we give like a certain number of patients that you can see. Let's say after 500 patients, you basically pay, with it's based on usage, right? So we use a combination of usage and a SaaS model. So SaaS model is like a monthly subscription, just use the tool. And then if you want to get to the advanced AI stuff, because I'm pretty sure my fellow associates here on the panel would know that with AI, basically it's the calls, right? Like if you are basically calling into OpenAI or calling into Grok, basically using them as well, for your prompting and so on. Like if you've basically got that integrated to your platform, it's per usage. So we actually do the same, where we say after a certain amount of patients, this is what you pay, and then after a certain amount of patients. So each medical practice or clinic, what they do is they obviously know how many patients they see within a month on average, and then they basically sign up for that subscription.
Thanks, Tembe. That's beautiful. And yeah, I think it makes sense. The SaaS and subscription model makes sense so that the more you scale, the more the clients scale, the more, you also need to support them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it only makes sense for them to grow as the
Yeah.
payment
Yeah.
grows depending on their, what's the name? The amount of work they're doing.
Yeah, work that, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
basically allowing them, it's building a product that allows for scale, right?
Mm.
Like instead of having a one fits all, so we just basically have a subscription model where we say if you just want the most basic of tools whatsoever, that's it. And if you want the more advanced stuff where AI is calling your clients and the communications on WhatsApp and whatsoever, and billings and claims process, you basically pay per usage.
Okay, great. I'll pass it on to Nyandia. Maybe you can give us your POV on how you express value to the clients that you have, and also how you end up pricing your services.
Okay. So I think for us, it's very, very interesting because in reality, we do not price AI as a separate thing. It's become so embedded in everything that we do. So it's just that the general costs for marketing, advertising, comms agencies. So we've just implemented and absorbed the costs of AI ourselves. So the only difference now comes in if when we propose to a client that we do have a solution that we can build for them, then we will bill based on software as a service, as Tembe mentioned. But generally, in case we absorb the cost, and it's just that cost of a recurring, say, monthly payment or a strategy cost, it's implemented in that. So we just go as a need-be basis. So based on what the client needs. So part of the proposal could be, we can create this custom AI solution for you, and then based on that, we will price that. But otherwise, for general marketing advertising, we just absorb that cost as an agency. Now the first question was how we showcase, right? How we showcase to clients the work is a big part of it is show, don't tell. Them seeing the work that we are producing, I think helps that a big part of it. We show, we don't tell. So we can show before and after maps. We can map your old processes, like we can show you how long your old processes took, how many people touched it. But then now, with the new process with AI, there's fewer steps, faster cycles, better output. Whatever it would take your internal or even previous agencies to do in months, we can do it in days. And I think a big part of clients is show and tell. Then, of course, concrete numbers where it's possible. So, how many hours are saved per month when you work with AI as opposed to just having traditional means of marketing? How many number of content assets are we able to produce when we implement modern technology versus not? What time does it take to launch campaigns right now with AI versus before? Again, also rooted in a basic show and tell sort of thing. And also, we do it via stories. We showcase, again, real examples with every client. See, even if it's not our client, we can use international case studies, African case studies to show you how brands have been utilizing it and what they've been getting just by using a much larger engine, which is AI focused. It's also key when you're having this discussion with clients to showcase what the clear limits of AI are. What can it do? What can't it do? I think that is going to be very primary in setting expectations with your clients in regards to the implementation of artificial intelligence in everything that they're doing. In legal facets, where do the legalities begin and where do they stop? Brand approvals, what can you use, what can you not? What data do you upload where, and at what point do you not upload it? Yeah. Which AI tools are you implementing that you've hosted locally in the agency as opposed to what is online, right? So then that it cuts this conversation of AI with clients or prospective clients from friction based, not a magic show versus something that is now more open. It's here. It's like the transition from calculating mathematics in primary school, with sticks and fingers, to moving into calculators, to moving into computers, to now having generative AI. So once you're able to, granularize it into a way the client is like, oh, this is simple. I have this AI in my phone. I've had it for so long. Because there's also this view of something mythical and mystical. They're like, oh my God, there's this whole new thing. Meanwhile, as long as you've had a Samsung phone, an iPhone, most Android models, you've always been interacting with AI. As long as you've talked to Hello Galaxy through your Samsung or Siri on your iPhone, that means you've interacted with artificial intelligence more often than you might think. So just because you're not logging into your Gemini or your GPT and your Nano Bananas and your Google Flow and whatnot does not mean you've not been interacting with it. So from that basis of them understanding that it's been here for decades, we've been utilizing it for decades, then they're like, oh, so it's just an extra, it's just been amped a bit. Then that makes them open to the possibilities, which are quite honestly infinite.
Great. Thank you so much, Nandya. So because of time, I'll just move into the next section, which is the future of AI in African agencies. So what opportunities are uniquely placed for African in the AI space? What do you think?
Oh my God, culture. We are so rich in culture and heritage. There is nobody like us. I take a lot of pride in being a Black African woman. an African person, there's so much pride, there's so much heritage, there's so much root in regards to that. And I think that is where now brands are trying to get into. You've seen it with Microsoft, you've seen it with Google. They're trying to establish, these sorts of mothership, sort of AI things that are rooted in culture and local language as well. I have friends who created their own AI tools that are language focused. It can translate from Shona to Swahili to Kikuyu to Luo. And I think that is the brilliance of it. It's the local language and the culture and the heritage of who we are. The fact that now, as agencies, we're going to have to train these AI tools, even in prompting in local languages and culture and heritage, because a lot of brands are taking pride in who they are and the people that they serve. Then the next thing that's going to happen is constraint-driven creativity. So because most brands that are up and coming, given the economic status of what's happening right now, people work with tight budgets and small teams. So what's happening is that now focus is going to be forced. So AI is helping them punch above their weight, right? So what essentially agencies like us have access to right now is very similar to what all these international agencies have. Difference is very minimal because literally the world has become our oyster. So even with smaller brands that did not have the certain type of data and research and access now have it because you have these platforms and these tools that are trained on research and books and models and all these other things that now you have access to. Then of course the real world cases are going to become more prominent, right? So like I've mentioned, AI is going to become something super common. I know there are people who are still fighting it. Of course, we have the early adopters, and then now you have the guys who lag behind, but it's going to be now fully implemented as that industrial revolution path that is necessary for evolution, that is necessary for your day-to-day existence. Agencies now will start building AI com systems around specific sectors, and they will export that data throughout the continent. So essentially, it's an oyster with various tentacles and various aspects that we now have access to. So we don't any longer have to copy Western use cases, right? So now we have access to who we are. In Kenya, I can access South African content and data. I can access Nigerian context and data. So now we're going to have our own use cases that are ours, that are very similar to who we are. Africa is now going to become a proper AI village. We've always been saying Africa is a village, but now we are going to be properly a proper village where we are now in better understanding of each other, of who we are and what we stand for.
Thank you so much, Nanja. That's beautifully placed. I'll pass this next question to Musa before we get into the questions the attendees have asked. What risks or misconceptions should agencies avoid in this day and say from 2026, because we are almost done with 2025?
Yeah, so there's a number of risks, and I think at this stage probably more risks when someone's approaching AI for the first time than value. The first and most important principle is there's no way of understanding those risks sufficiently unless you are experimenting proactively. And so as you experiment proactively, you'll be able to manage those risks carefully. But I think from our experience with clients, the first one that usually comes up, and it's been mentioned already, is around data. Clients are very concerned about the location of their data, the kind of technologies that you're using, to the extent that in certain instances there are policies for specific brands and organizations that govern what AI can and should be used to service that particular business. And they often make a distinction between AI to service the business and AI that integrates into their systems. And so the first is to understand those two principles, is that when you're servicing a client and they don't want you to be producing imagery using a certain AI, it's because they've probably done a exercise internally around the tools that they wish to greenlist or that they've approved on their side. The second part is if you're integrating into their systems, they probably want to do a technical due diligence to understand the technology you're using to be able to integrate successfully. So that's the first. It's just data access and data use. Within that context, there's also the what has come up as a bit of a challenge around is my data being used to enhance my competitor's position, right? So there's a little bit of paranoia around the sharing of information on the basis that LLMs and data gets better the more you feed it. We found a lot of clients asking that question. You know, how secure is my data, not only in terms of access to it, but what you're doing with it within being able to service other clients, right? So that's a big challenge that you need to solve for and understand. The third is what often happens is how do you guard against hallucinations and accuracy of data? So at speed and at velocity, we do know that hallucinations do happen. I think from a process point of view, it is important that you can give a sense of how you've integrated human in the loop, not only into the process, but into the technologies you select to be able to use to service certain clients. And demonstrating that there's a rigor in your own internal process helps to keep their hearts and minds at ease. The third that often comes up is the quality of the output, and this is reduced over time. I think right in the beginning of AI, especially when generative AI could now produce things, there used to be a lot of noise about but you can see that it's generated by AI, and now that argument has become almost non-existent. But certainly early or immature, shall I say, brands and clients still ask that kind of question. So believe it or not, we've also had questions relating to, and this just speaks to the education levels of some of our clients. They refer to AI as they think it is basically scraping the internet, right? So there's this notion that when you produce a solution, your technology is scraping the internet, and while it's not entirely wrong, it's not entirely right either. And so the correction around how knowledge is developed and how knowledge is scaled is quite important. And as far as enabling them to think about what value AI could bring. And then the last one, which often happens, and I think it's a natural question in terms of the big challenges, is for those that get the impact, they ask the question around what's the role then and how do we transition our teams? Because there's obviously an immediate efficiency, and the knee-jerk reaction is, well, if I can achieve so much with the AI, what do I and how do I journey with my team members, the human component of the equation? How do I upskill them to become far better at what they need to do? And what are those roles that we need to be thinking about to be able to accommodate for that? So those are the five real issues that keep coming up. And once again, the important thing as pitfalls and as watchouts is as agencies, you need to prepare a point of view on those matters. At this stage, it's often a discussion and a debate, but what is important is that you have a point of view. There's no such thing right now as a silver bullet, in my view, because the rate at which things are changing, and the differences in not only maturity and understanding from different brands requires you to be able to lead the conversation often. And so when the conversation gets very technical, a point of view is important to be able to put on the table. So that's really been our experience.
Perfect. I can also see a few questions that have come in. Maybe I can start with the one addressed to you.
Sure.
Yeah. So question for Musa, please. This is from Jenny. Beyond the planned
Right.
benefits, have you seen any unexpected upsides from your clients from utilizing the new tool? Beyond the planned benefits, have you seen
Yeah.
any unexpected upsides from your clients using the new tool?
Yes, 100%. So I think agencies for the longest time have struggled to reposition to clients as value adding partners, right? That kind of domain was held by the big consulting firms. The big consulting firms used to lead that conversation because they were seen and positioned as value adding partners into the ecosystem. So one very clear unexpected benefit is by clients utilizing the tool that we've built, ideated, put together, and understood so closely to the problem that they experience, they've elevated the role that we play in their relationship. What does that mean? It means that they now consider us, yes, obviously a great partner, a suitable service provider to be able to do the marketing and advertising. But because we are working in the context of solving the problems using technology, they're now inviting us to conversations that are a little bit broader than just advertising and marketing. They're now seeing our expertise as transferable into potentially other spaces. and they see us as a source of insight to be able to help them have those conversations. So it's really reinforced a relationship that, in my view, was getting quite strained, right? So the role of marketing agencies, creative agencies over time, sometimes drops in value. And so the tables you're invited to and the conversations you're privy to is quite limited. But the very big, for me, unexpected benefit has been, now we're being invited to conversations because we've understood something quite specific, and can show that value to our clients. The second unexpected benefit is, the disparity, right? So when clients finally understand what technology can do, there's an acceleration in what they want to do, to be able to get value from that technology. Whereas we used to find long sales cycles when we were talking about traditional advertising outputs. So the disparity between having solved it from a service point of view and the appetite to move quickly and trying to sell in another campaign or another output from a creative point of view is chalk and cheese. There's an urgency, which they add to the conversation. There's an ownership that they add to the conversation, and that was completely unexpected. But I think it's also because they feel pressure internally, from a business point of view, to be able to show up with value and solutions. So those are the two, very big unexpected benefits for us.
Thank you so much. You've answered the question well. Jenny, if you have any follow-up question, just type it in the chat and I'll be able to pick it up. So maybe a question to Tembe, because you're dealing with hospitals and a lot of data from, personal data, especially given that it's health data. There's a question on what about data security after integrating AI with businesses. For them to serve perfectly and give an almost accurate predictive analysis, they have to acquire sensitive business data. So how do you go around, one, of course, securing the data and, using the business data that you get, rather getting accurate data from your clients?
Okay, that's a pretty good one. And when I basically saw it, I knew it was gonna come to me because I'm gonna explain it in a very high level way because I know so I'm not technical. My company, I'm CEO. Our CTO is the pretty much like technical person. So I think in general, so when it comes to security, there's like standards. Let me just say that there's standards which in within the healthcare space. Sorry guys that I'm gonna keep mentioning the healthcare space because that's where our most recent projects have been coming from, even though we work with multiple industries. So yeah, so it's like I mentioned, it's a very sensitive space within healthcare, and we not just us, but in general, like a lot of service providers are not allowed to be having access to sensitive patient data. So what we've done is, I know within our projects was probably, I would say, a year and 2 months. And within 2 months, it wasn't our first, I have to admit, it wasn't our first go-to when we started our project. But I'd say within 4 months, we spent like 2 months just basically working on security and hiring experts yeah, basically cybersecurity experts. This was because there was standards to adhere when it comes to patient data and yeah, basically, yeah, patient data. So we built like heavy encryptions around that, like I said, I'm sorry, I can't explain it in technical terms, but yeah, we built like heavy encryptions where the data, even on our side, we basically can't see it, right? Because that's definitely like high risk. So the important question is because AI is only trustworthy as the environment it operates in, is when business integrates AI, data security can't be an afterthought, right? Like as I mentioned, we had an entire roadmap where we wanted to get by mid-year, but that was delayed, all because we said to ourselves we need to look at security, data security, and just make sure that we compliant And even not even about the compliance, right? Not even about the, like the legal aspects of it, but just so that to get patients feeling or clients basically feeling good about using the platforms or tools that they're using of yours, like whatever tool, AI tools that you have, so that they feel good that whatever they're communicating or whatever business data that they have is basically safe, right? So you need to ensure that, and we actually have that in our pitch decks as well about security because we feel like it's quite important. So the first thing to understand is that AI doesn't need unrestricted access to all your sensitive data. With the right architecture, you can use techniques like role-based access controls, data minimization, and encryption, like as I mentioned, to ensure that the model sees what it absolutely needs, right? So modern AI systems are designed to work with these I'd call them guardrails. Yeah. So, and then secondly, the real risk isn't AI itself, it's pretty much poor governance. So we like to, so at a consulting level now, not within just healthcare, we like to emphasize three layers of protection, right? So it's technical safeguards, which is, encryption, secure APIs, zero trust frameworks, and so on, and audit trails. So we're very big on audit trails as well. And then it's operational safeguards, so strict data handling processes, access policies, and ongoing monitoring. And then it would be your compliance safeguards. So that's pretty much what I just mentioned, aligning with any compliance safeguards such as POPIA, GDPR, and specifically with healthcare is HIPAA. And any other global standards that are very that basically govern the interaction and the interaction with data, which could be sensitive data for companies, for our clients. Hope I answered the question.
Yes, you have. You've answered it in detail, and especially with the three levels of rather layers of
Yeah.
security. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think the next question is to you, Nyandia. I think I have two questions. So the first one is, so to Nyandia, you mentioned you use Google AI Studio for your marketing funnel. Aside from Nano Banana, what other tools within the AI Studio do you utilize for your funnel? We all know that there's different levels. I think they want to know, some of the tools you use for the different levels. You're on mute, I believe, or is it on my side?
Also can't hear.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So I think no, I was saying actually but it's funny because Nano Banana is mostly for fun. So we use it when we're just trying to, go out there and do cool, fun stuff. So, in regards to Google AI Studio, I actually mostly use Labs by Google. It's rarely the AI, just the AI Studio. I use the backend where it has most of the tools. So, where you'll find Pomeli, you'll find Flow, you'll find Whisk. So we use at least 20 to 30 Google tools at any given point for various things, for modeling, for landing pages, for SEO, for videos, of course. Then you have Nano Banana in your case, just to generate images quickly from prompts. But yes, we use labs.google.com as opposed to just AI Studio, the Google AI Studio bit, for various things also. So you'll find there are various tools on Google that are for research. There are those that are more generative in regards to images and videos, which is the common Veo and Nano Banana. But then now you have the more in-depth bits of it. What guys don't understand is, just to use an example, in regards to how guys create videos using Google Veo, the best place to actually access it, to get access to better video tools, is from the Flow side of things. Flow, which is the tool that they use to create Veo. When it comes to images, guys use Nano Banana, but you should access it, if you're using it for more in-depth work, you may want to access it from a tool called Whisk. So Google has a sort of a back-end side to it when it comes to accessing its AI Studio, which is Google Labs. So in that regard, I hope that answers that. We use most tools from that side, whether it's Project Astra, Notebook LM. One of the tools that I actually love using on a day-to-day is Notebook LM, which most guys don't use, but we use it in regards to research. So when we get research, whether it's from Project Astra or any other thing, we like to simulate it using Notebook LM, because you can add a document to Notebook LM and it can make that into a podcast, into a presentation, into just things that help you learn. And because we are also in an educational space, we use a tool called Learn Your Way or Learn My Way, which enables you to learn. If you're into Vikings like I am, I can add something in regards to CIM marketing, and it's going to create an entire curriculum created in the form of Vikings, just to make it fun and in a way that it's easy for guys like me to understand. So there's a myriad of tools that you can use from that side. Which was the other question I'm trying to see?
The other one I want to ask you, because I've seen you be big on prompt engineering. So the question is, for marketing agencies, is prompt engineering becoming a specialized role, or will it be a basic skill for every team member that a team member needs to master?
I think at some point it was like you would go to guys' LinkedIn and you would find prompt engineer. And I was like, oh my God, guys are getting paid for what I do for free. So there is a point there where it was an actual heavy set niche that you could go to for work. Right now, because guys are creating their own prompt engineering AI tools, it's going to be a basic need for anybody who is going to utilize AI. It's basically like the capacity to power on your computer and put on your Microsoft and anything like that. So it's now becoming a foundational aspect of understanding AI. So you could specialize in it, I'm sure, but everybody's creating a gem or a GPT that prompts for them. So the best thing that you can do that way is to understand it in anything that you're using.
I completely agree. So I think this one, you've answered it in one way or another, but let me just point it out. So AI tools are evolving very fast, and so many companies are coming up with new different tools. By selecting one or two tools to run with it, doesn't it limit your exposure to AI, or is it safer to avoid disseminating a lot of user data to every tool you're using?
I think that's actually the wrong way to look at AI. It's not based on companies and what's being created. It's based on industry. If you're in marketing, for example, you do need specific tools. So I don't just use Google. Please note, Google is just a main one that I use in my organization, but I'm on multiple other tools, but they are essential to running an agency. They're in marketing, they're in advertising, they're in creative industry, they're in copywriting, they're in all these things, but they're in a facet that works for the agency. So I'm sure guys who are in finance, like banking, they use very specific tools as well that are in their part. Agriculture as well. Guys who are in climate and all these things, they have their own tools as well. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it will help you not get lost in the noise, because I do know sometimes guys a lot of times, most people are finding AI complex because they're getting lost in the noise. So there's 10 tools every day being launched from Korea, from Africa, from different parts of Africa, from the US, from anywhere. The best thing is to niche to what you're interested in. If you're in the creative arts, find tools that are within the creative arts and that are within the vicinity of the tools that are in the creative arts, just to make sure that you're not limited to specific things. But if you then go the direction of which company is doing what, you can get lost in the source of it all. But going by what you're interested in, it will open you up to at least 50 to 100 tools that are key to that without getting, lost in the source.
All right, I think, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Look at it from an industry point of view as opposed to, a generic direction. So, yeah, I can see we have 5 minutes. I'll ask one more question as we close. And Musa, Tembe, Nyanda, please answer this. So, for agencies starting from zero, what are the first 3 steps they should take in their AI journey? Please just take a minute to answer that, and then can pass it on to the next person. So
I'll go first, just because
okay,
I was in the mix of things. But I think one of the key ways to do it is just 3 very core steps. Educate your core team. So you do an internal session that covers what AI is, prompt engineering, ethics, governance, because those are things that are getting lost. It's key to note that a lot of people are into the practical use of AI. They're not getting into the theory part, which is very important as well, because you need to understand the ethics, bias, governance, all these data protection acts and things that are key and core to AI. Align on your basic do's and don'ts for your organization. So educate your core team. Pick one workflow to upgrade. Start from one workflow. So what process do you want to do? Is it SEO? Is it content creation? Is it videos? Is it copywriting? Is it reports? Pick one thing in one workflow that you want to upgrade. Just start with one, and then just create your own AI playbook, a simple one. Document your best prompts, the tools that you like, the checklist that guys in your company, in your agency need to go through before they utilize any tool, and then make it part of your onboarding. The easiest way to make sure that you're implementing AI is making it a part of your onboarding. Uptaking AI as a member of your team is the easiest way to now start utilizing AI on a day-to-day in your agency. So you can create a specific GPT, or in Google, what we call a gem, that is a copywriter or a video editor or as SEO expert. Once you're able to inculcate it as a team, you slowly start upgrading it into more and more workflows. But yes, I would say educate your core team, pick a workflow to upgrade, and then create a playbook that works with your organization.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nandia.
Thank you.
Musa?
Sure. So I'll build on that. So I want to repeat what has been said. I think those are great insights. The most important part, I think, is also the training and scaling. Is once you have success, how you communicate that into the organization and how you get people to understand that becomes quite important. So you need to gather that feedback, package those testimonials, package the results, not only show them to your internal team, but also show them to your clients. Right. The proposition around AI is so vast that when you start to be quite narrow with what you're solving for, it helps people to kind of understand exactly where you're going. So for me, it's more about being able to shift the mindset from about let's just experiment with AI to let's really deliver value from our organization into yours using AI. It's more about moving from the fact that we call them tools now, but it's more about what's the capability here. So should we shift the mentality to think about a tool to a capability? We need to think about capability, and then try and remove that idea around should we or shouldn't we. You have to use AI, and how do you use it to better compete and to create value becomes quite important. So for me, that's really the message for agencies, and the ones that are going to win are really going to dominate, being able to use these kind of principles to move fast, to learn quicker, to integrate, and to be able to create the right value.
Awesome, Musa. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Ombe, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Nyandia and Musa, because we actually have a client that's asking for this, basically they want to, start their journey within AI. So pretty much I would say similar to Nyandia, is appointing like an AI champion, so a person who's going to be the internal lead to do like exploration, training, and policies, and basically governance. And then I'd say the second is to audit your data. So you cannot have effective AI without good data. You need to identify where your most valuable, clean, and and in your structured data lives. So it could be client feedback, project timelines, and so on. And then third, I would say solving one pain point at a time. So just identify pain points that you want to solve, maybe just prioritize them by priority, whether it's identifying client churn or basically tasks that in the past were like so long and tedious and so on. And you pretty much want to use AI to lower those tasks. Maybe it frees up more of your time. I know with me, using AI, ChatGPT, manners, and so on, it's freed up so much of my time to basically do quite more in the day than before. Yeah.
Okay, well placed, well placed. Yeah, so I don't see any other question. We'll send this recording to everyone who's attended, and then we'll also share more about the panelists so that you can get in touch with them or ask more information on how you can collaborate. Also to Tembe, I can see someone has said they've seen your books and they'll be adding them to their reading list. So thank you, Ethnic Mutinda. So without further ado, I'll just say thank you to the panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge. And yeah, we are looking forward to, taking it back home to the agencies and see how that, how 2026, I'm already into 2026. Yeah, so how next year will pan out. As for me, I've been your host, Nora Thuo. I'm part of the PAAN team. So for those who don't know PAAN, it's a network of agencies from different parts of Africa. We do host these webinars, every other week, just, for different topics that relate to agencies. So happy to have you here, and I look forward to more engagement in the coming weeks. Thank you so much, Nyandia, Tembe, and Musa. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the attendees as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Well done.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for having
Bye-bye.
us.